Coming to you from Davenport High School, it is the 13-5 Davenport Broncos going against the 0-9 Haines City Hornets. Greetings, everyone, from Davenport, Florida. John Shigaris along with Mackenzie Calving. And Mackenzie, what an amazing JV game we just witnessed.
It really was. Both teams played an incredible game. Our Broncos were able to come out on top, but Haines City Hornets they were not giving up. No matter how far behind they were trailing, they were still they were in it to win it. Sadly, they were not able to, but it was an incredible game. Some incredible volleys there. Not as many spikes like we do obviously here in our varsity, but it was an incredible game, I would have to say, especially to start the night out.
And it's one of those, that is definitely that youth. So as that youth continues to develop through that JV team, in the future, those Hornets could be a phantom to deal with in the future. So let's talk about these Broncos. The Broncos have been on this amazing winning streak, now bringing their record up to 13-5. Their last two games, last Tuesday, huge rivalry game against Ridge, which they won 3-2, and then against the Ridgeview Global Explorers on Thursday, in which they swept 3-0. This Davenport team, once they put that pedal on the gas, they just go, go, and go.
And like you said, 13-5. Something interesting, majority of those 5 games were not in the gym. They were having to travel or just play in things that were strange to them. And it was like as soon as they stepped foot on their home court, it was something in them clicked and they were ready to go. They were not taking another lose, and they have really come out on top, and it's incredible. We've had the honor of broadcasting these, and it's amazing.
And it's one of those, I have never heard a gym rocking as much as it did last week against Ridge and tonight against Haines City. It makes sense, Haines City being 8.8 miles down the road. You got countless Hornets fans here, you got countless Broncos fans here, and the energy that was even at the beginning of that JV game was just electric, and you normally don't see that during JV games.
Yeah, like I made the comment that our football players are having some competition. This entire gym, it was like back and forth, like who could be the loudest, who could show the most support. And I think it was a really great environment to put the girls in for, because usually, like you said, there's not a lot of people here for our JV games. And I think that probably gave them like a boost of confidence in a way to have that many people here cheering for them so early on in the night.
And with how rocking it was, we literally had to take one of our cameras down because it literally was shaking on the tripod. Again, that is not an atmosphere you usually get in volleyball at this level, but both teams' fans have definitely come out. So let's take a look at the Haines City Hornets. They are 0-9 on the year. They have dropped their they've dropped 8 straight sets rather. Last Monday they lost against Celebration 3-0. Last Wednesday they lost against Lake Wales also by a score of 3-0. So if you're Haines City, you have to assume they have to try to get that confidence early and often tonight.
Yes, and I think that the where they're just warming up now, and it looks to me like they're really serious. They're not like joking around. They want to boost their confidence up, and you know, I think our Broncos may have some competition tonight. I mean, obviously it's too early to see, but maybe they decide, you know what, we're gonna step up. We're gonna do our best.
And usually when it comes to these Broncos, Coach Ellis's club usually is nice and loose. It's also a different look Broncos tonight. You're looking around, each and every one of them has this serious face on the serious look on their face. You look at Captain Cologne, and she is over there, and she just means business.
Yeah, and like if you notice on their jerseys, they have something to describe them. Captain Cologne's actually says happy, and right now she is serious as can be. She is not goofing off. She is in it to win it, and that just makes me think, what has changed between the Hornets and these Broncos from these Hornets going from 0-9, and now all of a sudden our girls are being worried. Obviously, you don't want a team to come out here and be like, oh, they haven't won, we're not going to be serious. But for this level of seriousness, I feel like we haven't seen it in some of the other warm-ups, and now it's like,
And one of the toughest things to do is to beat a team multiple times in the same year. Earlier this year, our Lady Broncos went over to Haines City and they beat the Hornets. Tonight, again, it's so tough to beat the same team multiple times because once you start to see them, you start to develop things that each team has.
and so I think that tonight will be a very interesting game to watch for the varsity.
Well, so our key players, the ones who we have spotlighted every game so far we've done. If it's not Captain Cologne, it's Sarah Hernandez or it's Gabriela Sanchez. Between the three of them, their service game has been unbelievable with ace after ace after ace. The last game that we broadcast, Cologne had 4 straight aces. When you get that deadly on a serve, it's just good night.
And the one thing I noticed about our girls, or our Broncos, sorry, every time, they're always getting incredible plays up at the net, and then it's their turn to serve, and they're keeping going. I mean, they're having like 7 straight serves. It feels like a turn, and then they're back up at the net playing again, and it's just a cycle that's hard to break. And I'm really excited to see if that continues on tonight's game.
And that's definitely something they need to do tonight is get that momentum. Because Haines City, as we mentioned, being 0-9, if they start to get that momentum, if they start to taste something positive, they might be able to take that nectar, if you'll pardon that Hornets pun, and maybe might take that to win that first game. Because all it takes is one game in volleyball to get that first set, and they could be off to the races.
And if that happens, we obviously have Coach Ellis's magic timeouts. But some of the last few games, she hasn't been calling them. Her girls are out there. They are knowing what to do. It's like before she can call a timeout, they get into place and they're doing what she would have told them to do. And who knows? Maybe tonight she has to call a few of those if these Hornets get into motion and start doing as good as the JV team did, because they were putting up a fight.
And we keep talking about how odd it is, this Broncos team being brand new, how they've been able to gel as well as they have. Coach Ellis has done amazing. This Bronco team currently is ranked number 9 in the state. If you'd have asked me at the beginning of this year if a brand new volleyball team could have been ranked in the state, I would have thought maybe possibly, knowing how some of these girls did last year over at Haines City and Ridge. But the way that they've all just come together, it's like they've played with each other for years.
And like we mentioned, the majority of their season, they were traveling to other schools or playing at Citrus Ridge, and so for them to be able to step in here, only been in here for 6 games, I believe.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, they're going from being a brand new team no one's heard of to 9th in state, and everyone has heard of them now. I mean, they have played an incredible season, and I'm so excited to watch them.
And it is. It's going to be amazing to see how they go. So upcoming broadcasts this week after tonight's game against the Hornets, the Broncos go to the Dog Pound. On Thursday, volleyball will host the Frostproof Bulldogs. We'll have the call here on the Broncos Broadcasting Network at 7:30 following the JV game. And on Friday, the DeSoto County Bulldogs come into town to face our football team. That game will kick off at 7:30. So this is the first of 3 games for the Lady Broncos this week. But as you were saying, they really haven't played many road games recently because they had to open up that season on the road. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when all of a sudden they have to take that magic away from Davenport High School and go back on the road.
Yes, it's, I feel like since this gym's opened up, they haven't had a game where they're on the road. It's been constantly in here. And I mean, there was one week we had 3 games back to back, and now it's going from 3 games back to back every week to 1 here and the rest somewhere else. And I think I think they're going to have that same momentum and same teamwork and be the same team, obviously. But I do wonder if that will have a different environment will have an effect on them.
And this is the last week of the regular season for the volleyball game. As it stands right now, they would have a first-round tournament game going against Discovery Academy next week. We'll pause real quick for the national anthem. We will be back here on the Broncos Broadcasting Network. And we are back here from Davenport High School again for tonight's matchup between the 13-5 Davenport Broncos going against the 0-9 Haines City Hornets. The opening introductions have just begun, and we are just moments away from the first serve. John Chigueras along with Mackenzie Caving. Mackenzie, take it away.
Both teams are on the court. They're getting ready. And like we mentioned earlier when talking about the games, I am just really excited to see how these teams come through and what kind of competition they're going to put up for the other. I think it's going to be an interesting match. The Hornets are starting off with the serve, but you know, if they hit it close to the net, our team has incredible net play, and I'm hoping that they pull through with that tonight.
And it's going to be one of those. It seems like whoever gets momentum quick in this game will have that advantage and will take this first set. As we talked about during the opening, the Haines City Hornets has dropped their last 8 sets.
The way they're looking right now, they are so, I mean, and how I said they were in warm-ups, they look, they have an attitude like they are not going to lose. They're not taking another lose. And like you said, it's all about momentum, whoever gets that momentum first. And also, our Broncos, they had that attitude of we're not losing, we have to put up a fight. And of course they always have that attitude, but in warm-ups they're kind of more like let loose and stuff. But today they were not. They were all business. And so I'm just kind of wondering how this is going to go.
Yeah, definitely a totally different look Broncos than we've seen so far.
An incredible spike by Perez. You know, she is one of her and Sarah Hernandez always with the spikes. If it's not one, it's the other. And I think we've actually mentioned this. If they weren't on the same team, it would, I mean, competitors for sure. Like, they are always head-to-head.
Picture perfect placement right there. Just hit them where they are.
It was, you know, and it felt like it went right through them and hit that corner. And that's something our girls has been doing a lot of is perfect placing. They know where to hit that ball where no one is going to be able to get it.
And when you have those long volleys, it does open up that court as you have multiple volleyball players going toward that one spot. It opens up that spot on the floor to spike it home.
Like just happened then, you know, she hit it and wasn't able to get it up, the Hornets, and no one was there to back it up to help her, and it hit on the floor. And that's something you got to work on if you want, you know. You don't have many players on your court as it is, and if they're all covering in one spot, that leaves so much opportunity for potential scoring. Again, the Hornets were not able to get it back over the net. Now our Broncos are leading 4-0.
That's 3 straight service points by Cologne, and Cologne has been one of those deadly servers for the Broncos. When she gets on that roll, forget it.
Again, another incredible serve. The Hornets were able to get it back over the net, but they hit it a little too far and went right outside the lines. Again, Captain Cologne will be serving, and like you said, once she gets into it, nothing is breaking her. An incredible spike by Sarah Hernandez, but she gave it a little too much power, and it went outside of the lines. So now it is 5-1. The Hornets will be serving, and it looks like number 11 has the serve.
Yep, number 11, Erin Taft serving it.
Again, our Broncos, if they're having to play defense, they're there. You know, they are getting it back over the net. They don't want, they don't want it to be on them, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so that was an incredible volley resulting in another point for our Broncos.
Perez off to serve for the Broncos.
An incredible spike by Sarah Hernandez. Again, with that placement, no, it was like a window of opportunity between those two players, and she hits it every time. That was incredible. It is now 7-1. Perez will be serving once again for our Broncos.
When you think about Sarah Hernandez being a sophomore, it's one of those, it's scary to think what's going to happen in the next 2 years.
She is so talented for such a young player. All these girls are, especially for being such a young program. That will be a point for the Hornets. It is now 7-2. The Hornets will be serving. But we constantly talk about how young of these girls are and how young of a program they are. And it's crazy to think about what they could potentially be. That was an incredible volley. The Hornets will actually get the point out of that. Again, Sarah Hernandez gave it a little too much power, but as always, an incredible spike.
Ortiz off to serve for the Hornets.
Again, incredible placement. I believe it was Amanda Mong who had that one. She was not letting it, she was not letting them lose that point. She got it back over and hit properly. Sarah Hernandez just had to serve. Sadly, she wasn't able to get it over the net. It is now 8-3. Hornets will be serving. Broncos were not able to get it back over the net. It's 8-4. This is something we talked about. They were leading, and now it's like they're losing their momentum.
And just like that, momentum swings back toward the Broncos, 9-5.
And like we said, like that could have potentially been an incredible time for Ellis to call a timeout, but like those girls got back in it. They were like, no, we know what we need to do. Incredible volley. Hornets were not able to get it back over the net on that last hit, so it is now 10-5. Katie Hernandez will be serving for the Broncos. I believe it was a double tap or a double hit for the Hornets, so it is now 11-5. Katie Hernandez will again be serving for the Broncos. Right outside of the lines, costing the Hornets a point. It is now 12-5 for the Broncos, and it looks like the Hornets will call a timeout.
Yep, Coach Nieves for the Hornets has seen enough as it's 12-5. So obviously going to try to regroup, and as you were saying, that was normally a time when Ellis would call a timeout, but look at the veteran leadership. We'll use that term loosely because we are talking underclassmen for the Broncos, but you have like Captain Cologne, you have Katie Hernandez, the two captains for the Broncos, instantly grabbing each other and saying, hey guys, we need to refocus. There was no way that ball should have fallen in between four of us.
And it looked, from the look on Ellis's face, she was like proud of them. She was like, I was about to call this, and you guys fixed your mistakes. And this is something they've been doing what is the word I'm looking for? So commonly, I guess. They've got into habit. They're like, she would be calling a timeout right now. She would be giving us some pep talk. Let's give it to ourselves, improve, that we can do this.
And it's getting to the point, the ship is starting to drive itself, as you were saying, that the players are able to coach themselves, and that just shows how great Ellis has been coaching this Broncos program.
That was an incredible save right there. A double hit again from the Hornets. So it's now 13-5 for the Broncos. Katie Hernandez will be serving again. That was an incredible serve. Like, that had a lot of power to it, and those girls were able to get in front of it and stop it, but not able to get it back over the net, resulting in a point for the Broncos, 14-5. The Broncos were not able to get back over the net. It is 14-6. The Hornets will have the serve.
It's powering just the spin on that serve by Hernandez, as it was driving Diaz nuts, because Diaz would go to set it, expecting the ball to go forward, and because of the spin, it's all of a sudden projecting backwards. Speaking of Diaz, here is her serve.
She hit it just a little out of the lines, giving the Broncos another point. It is 15-6. Sanchez will be serving. And our Broncos are so quick about this. As soon as they serve, they're back into position, whether it's up at the net or, they are ready. It's like, we didn't serve, we're here. They take it as if the other team has had the ball the entire time. And that is an incredible thing that I've noticed that they do. They're so fast about it. They are ready to get it and go. That was a point for the Hornets, 16-7. And I don't really know what happened there. It was like a little, I guess, a miscommunication.
A little miscommunication, yeah.
With the net. So the Hornets will be serving.
But that's definitely the Broncos. Once they start to get the momentum, they don't want to slow down at all, because the faster they continue to hold up that tempo, the more tired the Hornets are going to become.
Exactly. An incredible spike by Perez, again, with that placement. Finding those windows and knowing that, oh, no one's going to be there. Let me hit it there.
That as well as Kaylin Gibson just barely being able to get that arm out for the Hornets to keep that drive alive.
Served by Amanda Mong for the Broncos. She wasn't able to get over the net, so it is now 17-8 for the Broncos. Again, this would probably be a time for Ellis to potentially call a timeout, like, hey, what are you guys doing? And let's see if those girls give themselves that confidence. Just inside the line, the Broncos were not able to get to it. So that'd be another point for the Hornets, 17-9.
That's just a beautiful spike by Gibson there by the Hornets. But you're seeing it right now. Cologne instantly going over to Monk and saying, are you okay? Let's get back focused. Let's get this next point back.
Outside the lines, resulting in a point for the Broncos. Again, like you said, she went over there. She was like, hey, we don't need a timeout. We have this. And they're back. It's now 18-9. Broncos are leading. Captain Cologne will be serving. I guess I spoke too soon. She wasn't able to get over the net.
A very rare miscue by Cologne.
But she just had like a little conversation with Ellis, and it looks she's back in. She's like, I don't know what I did wrong, but I don't want to make that mistake again. Another little small miscommunication on the Broncos' end. They thought it hit the ground. They stopped fighting for it. So it is now 18 to 11.
And how often do you see Coach Ellis that close to the court? You never see her this close.
So again, resulting back to our pregame conversation, what has changed in the atmosphere between these Hornets and these Broncos?
Well, it's just a totally different mentality that these Broncos have. Because you have the Hornets, knowing that the Broncos are now rated number 9 in the state. You have the Hornets, who we said during the pregame has lost 8 straight sets. They have the opportunity now to start to play spoiler. And that can be a very dangerous aspect from any team.
And that's, Coach Ellis is right here. She is serious about it. And again, as another point for the Broncos, is 19 to 12. She is, our Broncos have been doing great the entire game. She's there. She's close. She's like, it's like she's in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And usually we don't see her with that aspect. And so, I just wonder what has kind of happened. Perez with the serve was not able to get it over the net. So it is now 19 to 12 with the Hornets.
I got 19-13 if they update that scoreboard. It was 19-12 going into that serve.
So, yeah, I think it's 19-13. My bad. Another miscommunication with the Broncos, resulting in a point for the Hornets. Again, I think it should be 19 to 14. I think there's an issue with the scoreboard.
And it isn't often that you see the Broncos start to become frustrated, and that's where they're at right now. As we're seeing multiple points going the Hornets' way, now 19-15, and just like that, Coach Ellis has had enough, and she's calling a timeout.
It worked a couple times, our girls getting into it and being like, hey, we need to check ourselves. And something shifted, and I guess they were not able to. So she's calling one of her magic timeouts, and let's see if that has a different aspect, or they come out a changed team, if you will, once this timeout is over.
This is strange as we're looking over. Coach Ellis really isn't talking. She pointed to Cologne, she pointed to Katie Hernandez, and Katie Hernandez led that timeout there. So relying on her captains, relying on that leadership to continue to drive this team. That's something I don't think I've ever seen Coach Ellis do this year.
I think that, they have proved themselves, and I think she's being like, you know what, I'm going to take a step back and see how this goes. And maybe that is what has changed since the pregame warm-ups. They were like, you know what, she's trusting us to lead this. Let's make her proud. And so maybe that was the change in the atmosphere. A point for the Broncos. It is 20 to 15. Sarah Hernandez will be serving. A little misstep for the Broncos. That gives the Hornets another point. It is 20 to 16. A little too much power on that one from Katie Hernandez, resulting in the Hornets having another point, 20 to 17. It was crazy. When the game started, our Broncos had a very prominent lead, and like that, now it's barely a 3-point lead. It's, like you said, all about momentum. Hornets were not able to get it back over the net to the Broncos. Now it is now 21 to 17. Looks like Cologne will be swapping out for. Sorry, I can't see.
That's DeValley coming in.
Not enough power on that one for the Hornets. So now it's 22-17 for the Broncos.
And you're right, the Broncos did start off hot, scoring the first 5 points and then going up 7-1. But since then, the Hornets have very slowly cut this lead, now down to 5. And now 6 right on cue.
Hernandez with that serve. I've noticed something about Katie Hernandez and Captain Cologne, our two captains, back and forth when it comes to them serving. They are the ones that, once they get in that rhythm, it takes a lot to break it. Point for the Broncos. The Hornets reacted too early to that one, hit it before it was even on their side of the net. It's now 24-17. Broncos are in the lead. Katie Hernandez with a serve. And just like that is 25-17. Broncos winning the first game. And I really don't know what to say. They were in the lead, they lost it for a minute, and then they came back right on cue. And like you've mentioned, it wasn't much of Ellis as much as it was our two captains. They were, like getting in the motion. They were like, we have to make her proud.
And it does come down. As all of them see Ellis as that mother figure, and it gets to that point, you don't want to disappoint your parents. And that's what it started to look. You could look at Ellis as she started to pace back and forth. And again, that's a Coach Ellis that we have not seen this year. And that is when you start to have Captain Cologne start to come alive. Both the Hernandez sisters starting to try to rile everyone up. And the Broncos were able to pull that first set out, 25-17.
And like you said, how Ellis was right there up on the court. And when she started to walk back and forth, she was she was kind of getting frustrated. And as soon as she started walking back and forth, not just the captains, but the entire team were like, we need to rethink this. And she stopped. She wasn't pacing anymore. She was back into the game. And then it was again, like as soon as they saw that one step she took back and forth, they were like, whoa, we need to get a hold on ourselves.
And even right now, Coach Ellis is drawing up a play, and you have Gabriela Sanchez, who's over there talking up the Broncos. So each and every Bronco is starting to take this leadership role on this team, and that is why you have this first-year team that is ranked number 9 in the state.
Because they have just come together, and they're like, this is a new school. We need to prove ourselves. And, we're not even having our own gym to play in. And all. So they were doing incredible, and now they're in here. And you would not know this is a first-time team in a brand new gym. It's like they've been playing together since they could walk. I mean, the chemistry between the team is incredible. And, they went from being a new unknown team to 9th in the state, which is incredible.
Yeah, not only unknown, but not even existing just a few months ago.
Exactly. And, sorry.
Yeah, but Coach Ellis and her staff have just done an amazing job. You even see the JV team. And the thing is, when you have this new team, you know that this is basically going to be the look of the varsity team and the JV team, at least these 2 years, as there are no seniors on this team. So at the same time, you might have some of those JV players start to feel disgruntled, thinking, geez, I know I'm going to be on JV for 2 years, but none of them have that mentality. They've all come together to play. As we saw in the JV game before this, winning that 2-0. And even when they're warming up, as we get here hours before these broadcasts go on, I know I got here at 4:30 today, you were around 4:45, 5-ish, but all these JV players are already out on the court warming up, psyching each other out, playing different side games around. And it's just this camaraderie, yeah, I can't speak today. You guys know the word I'm going for. But just the relationships they have built already is just unbelievable.
For a minute when they were playing, I honestly forgot that this was our JV team because they were playing like varsity. It was a step up. And so I'm really excited to see where most of them are going to go with the upcoming seasons and stuff. Are they going to compare to our varsity? Are they going to be better than our varsity? So that's something I'm really excited to see moving on into the school.
And going into the second set, these Broncos seem a lot looser than they did at the beginning of the game. So this is the typical Broncos that we have seen. It'll be interesting to see if that helps them or if that ends up swinging momentum back toward the Hornets in this second set.
again, you're like how we were talking about in the pregame. I wonder what it was that changed this for the girls. Like, whole different attitudes, and and these Hornets are 0-9, and now all of a sudden our Broncos are acting like this is their biggest rival. So I just, what is the change in atmosphere? What, you know,
Captain Cologne to serve.
that's a point for the Hornets. So now 1-0.
But yeah, if you're the Hornets, you absolutely, this set, have to strike on the Broncos, strike early and strike often. That was absolutely beautiful. You have Sarah Hernandez going for that spike, and all of a sudden just dukes to her left, and Perez like, all right, I'll gently tap it over the net.
Looks like the Hornets forgot what was going on for a minute as they caught the ball within the net, resulting in a point for the Broncos. So it is now 2-1. Perez will be serving.
And what spin Perez got on that ball. Going right off of Lane's hands toward the bleachers. We are tied up at 2 apiece. Concierge Mackenzie Caving here from Davenport High School here in Davenport, Florida. 8:13 here on the East Coast. We thank you for joining us here on the Broncos Broadcasting Network.
That was a great serve by Perez, but it looks like she might have calculated where it was going because it did go right out of bounds. So it is now 2-3. It looks like Ellis just had a quick little chat with Perez. Maybe that's again what they need is just these quick little motherly chats to be like, hey, I know you're doing great, but what can we work on? It is now 3-3. Sarah Hernandez will be serving for the Broncos.
And there is that old expression, less is more. And that might be what we're getting now with Coach Ellis. I'm going to give you that quick little words of wisdom and just take it, plant in that seed, and continue to grow.
Take and do with it what you will. And honestly, that's really working tonight if that is the approach she's going with. Looks like it's a point for the Hornets. It's now 4-4.
And definitely, it's been a totally different Hornet since midway through that first set.
A miscommunication with the Hornets. Two girls hit the ball at the same time, and that didn't go anywhere. So it's 5-4 with Broncos. And I'm just wondering, what is it with this gym and timeouts? Every time a coach calls a timeout in this gym, their team comes back a whole new team. Katie Hernandez will be serving. Looks like a bad reaction from the Hornets. She stuck. If number 18 had not have reacted to that, they may have potentially got themselves a point, but she hit it out. There the Hornets go with a perfect placement, getting it right there out of the reach of Perez. It is now 6-5. Broncos are in the lead. Hornets with the serve. Now 7-5. Looked like it just went right out of the line. Sanchez will be serving.
And that's one thing as they came into the second set. All you could hear was Coach Nieves from the Hornets saying, brand new set, 0-0, brand new set.
Again, another miscommunication with the Hornets. resulting in another point for the Broncos. Sanchez will be serving again. Um, and it's like these coaches, you've heard these coaches, or many different coaches say that every time. It's like, it's a new set, time to refresh. Forget what happened last time.
And even more so in volleyball, we keep talking during the football games when the score becomes offset. It's like, hey, treat this next game like it's 0-0. It's a brand new half. In volleyball, when you go to a second set, it actually is a brand new ball game.
And literally anything can happen in those sets, as we saw on the first home game, I believe, of volleyball. They went. It was we were here for half the night. It felt like, because it was such a toe to toe. It was like, you're not winning. It was back and forth. There Perez is again with placement. The Hornets were not able to reach it in time. It's now 11-5. Sanchez will be serving again.
And it was that game against McKeel Academy, and the Broncos have not lost at home since that game.
Hornets not able to get it back over the net. 12-5. Sanchez again with the serve. I believe the Hornets just called a timeout.
Yep, so could be a picture-perfect time for Coach Nieves as this game starting to get away from the Hornets. Just a few moments ago, it was 4-4, and now it's 12-5. So momentum starting to wear a black jersey.
Looking over towards our Broncos, it's the players are just talking and having a great time. Ellis is just there to listen, and then looking over the Hornets, a completely different atmosphere. He's in the middle. He's telling each and every one of them what to do and what not to do. And I think it's just, it just shows a different style of coaching and how those styles can affect a different team.
And the Broncos is almost like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. As we had at the beginning of the year, they're all straight-laced. Hey, we're doing business. And now in that timeout, you have Perez, Colon, and Hernandez borderline dancing. The Broncos right now are extremely loose.
And I feel like we talk about this constantly. The momentum these girls get when it's their turn to serve. I mean, how many times has Sanchez been up to serve in this little bit of time? We'll add that one to another counter because she's going up again, as it is now 13-5 for the Broncos. Sanchez will be serving. And it is just crazy with the way, once they get into it, it's like I've said, they're not getting out of it. Looks like a double hit from the Hornets, so it goes back to the Broncos, 14-5. Sanchez will be serving again. And something interesting about Sanchez, as soon as she lets that ball go, she's back up at the net like she's been there the entire time. It's just quick to show how fast these girls are and how serious they are. It's like as soon as it's gone, they're back to make sure it's not getting it back over the net.
And that was 8 straight points during that service game for Hernandez. So you're right, Hernandez and Colon are just such sharpshooters when it comes to the Broncos on the service games. Quick substitution for the Hornets. It looks like Sarah Hernandez is okay. Both her sister and Captain Colon checking on her to make sure she's okay. Correction, that's actually Janilis Perez that's checking on her.
Again, perfect placement by Perez. She was able to, incredible spike as usual, and right there in the perfect place. And so now resulting in 15-6. Broncos are leading. If you didn't know, Ellis was just doing a little twin or spin and dance, you know, she's excited for these girls and how well that they are doing. Amanda Mong with the serve. That's an ace.
Beautiful ace.
And, you know, she will be serving again. It is now 17-6.
And it seems like that just caught Lane off guard.
Mong wasn't able to get it over the net. So now it should be 17-7. Hornets will be serving. Looks like Ellis was having a quick word with Mong, like, hey, what was going on? And looks like they got that sorted out, like, hey, you know, let's see what we can do. Another miscommunication with the Hornets. So it is now 18-7 for the Broncos. Captain Cologne will be serving. I feel like the Hornets, you know, they're all not communicating enough, and it's, 17-7.
And now it's 18 with that amazing serve by Cologne that could not be returned.
But like I was saying, miscommunication has been such an issue for these Hornets. It's like they don't know where they're supposed to be or how to get there. Just a little tiny tap by Sanchez.
And it's one of those, you have the Broncos that are just swarming the net. As you look up and you have 4 or 5 Broncos on the net, and Haines City isn't playing that way. They're only keeping 2 at the net and keeping a majority of their girls back, and that is why the Broncos are able to get